name is Rachel Deitch. I'm the Social Justice Coordinator at the American Humanist Association, and I'll be taking us through our next few speakers. Up next, I'm really excited to present and introduce Dr. Madhvi Potluri, a human rights advocate and the Secretary for External Relations for the South Asian Humanist Association, an organization seeking to work hand in hand with the AHA to bolster our humanist message in more communities. She'll speak about the caste system in India and DNA testing to prove its irrelevance.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming early in the morning. My name is Madhvi Potluri. I live in Vancouver, Canada, with my husband and my daughter. I would like to thank Roy, Rachel, and the rest of the team for giving me this opportunity to present my project here. Before I go on, I would like to mention that I'm not a geneticist. I'm not an expert in the science of genetics, but I'm planning to rope in a few geneticists to help me with this project. The information that I'm presenting today has been taken from various sources, some of which I have listed above. It's possible that the information we have available on hand today may not be relevant tomorrow. Science is constantly evolving and we go along with it. Fight against caste system has been going on for several years in India. We're not the first ones raising a voice against it, and we will probably not be the last ones. The difference is we would like to use science in this fight. It hasn't been used until now. We are very serious about doing something about this caste system. You probably have not heard about it until now. Most of you may have not heard about it. But it is important and real, and so we're going to work on it. Before I go into details of India's caste system, let me trace back. Let me start at the beginning. Our world is approximately 4.5 billion years old, and the life started on it approximately 3.5 billion years ago. It started out from a self-replicating cell, a single-celled organism, and then went on to multi-celled organisms, fish, amphibians, reptiles, ground mammals, tree mammals, bipedal mammals, and then the human. Several variations in human as well. So in the 3.5 billion history of evolution, human beings have much shorter history. Most anatomically correct human being, modern human of today, has evolved about 200,000 years ago. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. So this is our modern human now. There are many theories about how evolution, where evolution started and how humans migrated from. Out of Africa theory is one of the most widely accepted theory on this among scientific circles. There are other theories like multiple, theories that say life started concurrently at different parts of the world. And recently they found a fossil in Europe that suggested that maybe it started in Europe, not in Africa. But that was a single occurrence, single fossil, so there is not enough evidence to back it at this point. So I'm going to focus on the most widely accepted theory, which is out of Africa theory. While they evolved around 200,000 years ago, around 100,000 years ago, Africans tried to move, because of the climatic shift and other reasons, they tried to venture out of the continent. And they moved to Europe, Asia, Australia, North America, and most recently South America. No matter how proud we are of being Indians, Americans, Germans, and so on and so forth, our roots are in Africa. Our ancestors were Africans, and this is the most widely accepted theory. Even though our human history is 200,000 years old, most of the growth happened in the last 10,000 years. The agricultural revolution, domesticating animals, and industrial revolution, everything happened within the last 10,000 years. As I said earlier, different groups ventured out of Africa, and the group that entered the Indian subcontinent did it about 55 to 65,000 years ago. And they were doing just what they were doing in Africa for a long time, and then the civilization started to develop, and caste system was introduced between 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. It is among the world's oldest forms of surviving social stratification. Manusmriti, widely regarded to be the most important and authoritative book on Hindu law, and dating back to at least 1,000 years before Christ, acknowledges and justifies the caste system as the basis of order and regularity of society. To me, in its existing form today, it's the most uncivilized, abhorrent practice, with untouchability being a part of it. It is unthinkable to people like you and I, but that is the reality of millions of oppressed Indians. They did a survey recently, and it had established that 27% of Indians still practice untouchability. This survey also packs a few other surprises. It shows that almost every third Hindu, that is about 30%, admitted to the practice of untouchability, but bizarrely enough, 23% of Sikhs, 18% of Muslims, 5% of Christians, and to a lesser amount other religions are also practicing untouchability. This could have been the influence of the British, and prior to that, the Mughals. It worked for them, so they let it propagate. They've left, but the caste system hasn't. More than 165 million people in India continue to be subject to discrimination, exploitation, and violence simply because of their caste, the caste they're born into. The system started out as Varna system in ancient India. It was believed that the Hindu lord of creation, Brahma, he was supposed to have had 3 heads that looked everywhere. So he was supposed to have created 4 different categories of people. The ones that originated from his head became the first-class citizens. They were Brahmins, or in other forms, priests and educators. And those that supposedly derived from his shoulders were Kshatriyas and other were rulers. And those that derived from his thighs were traders, merchants, businessmen. And those that were derived from his feet were Shudras, in other words, laborers. Outside of this Hindu caste system were the Achuts, which literally means untouchables. They're called Dalits now. Dalits is the word used for them, but formerly they were called untouchables. And today's caste system has about 2,000, the main caste system has been divided into 2,000 castes, and there are 25,000 subcastes. And they're in each and every caste, there's subcastes. We won't talk about them. For centuries, caste dictated almost every aspect of Hindu religion and their social life, with each group occupying a specific place in this complex hierarchy. Rural communities were long arranged on the basis of castes. The upper and lower castes almost always lived in segregated colonies. The water wells were not shared. Brahmins, the top class, would not accept food or drink from the Shudras or the laborers. And one could only marry within one's caste. Is the system legal? No, it is not legal. Independent India's constitution banned discrimination on the basis of caste, and in an attempt to correct historical injustices and provide a level playing field to the traditionally disadvantaged, the authorities announced quotas in government jobs and educational institutions for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. They are the lowest in the caste hierarchy. And this happened in 1950 when the Constitution was written. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, born a Dalit himself, who authored the Indian Constitution, was instrumental in implementing this. He was one of very few that had the opportunity to come into mainstream anything. He was a genius. He was educated at almost every renowned university in North America and UK. He went back and he was instrumental in the construction of Indian Constitution. And he was the one that said these people needed some upliftment. Yes, government is doing that, but unfortunately, the society hasn't changed. People haven't changed. There are people who oppose this reservation system because some say it should be based on economic status. Some say merit students are not being given an opportunity because of these few reservation quotas given to the oppressed classes. So there's constant battle going on. I see two alarming issues. One is the upper castes fighting amongst themselves for supremacy. Some of them claim genetic supremacy. Each caste leader will say, our caste is the most superior. We are special. A politician actually claimed that he could get the DNA tested and prove that he's genetically superior. Not just him, people born in his caste. These so-called upper castes or forward castes, they're in better positions, they've had opportunities, they've got jobs, they're in positions where they can make policies, politicians. But unfortunately, everything is caste-based. I'll give you an example. There are different political parties, but a leader from a certain caste will be voted for by his caste people. And there are different parties like that. Fundraising is done for your own caste person. There are caste-based entertainment, like you have the popular hero. You would probably like Brad Pitt or somebody for their looks, or Tom Hanks for his acting ability. But most of the youth in India, they like their protagonists because they're born in their caste. It used to be, when I was growing up, it used to be the older generation, like my grandmother and that generation, that would show a little bit of discrimination toward lower castes. But it has spread so much in the last 20 years. It has gotten so bad that the young people in schools, high schools, colleges, universities, educational institutions, this is spread all over, all over. So these people are raised as soon as a child is born, a caste tag is attached to their name. So they're raised with that awareness that we belong to this caste. So even if they move thousands of miles away to a country like United States, for example, they will not forget their caste. They will take it with them. They will find friends that belong to the same caste in that region, and they form a little club of their own. There are 3 or 4 major organizations in United States today that are purely caste-based. I know it's disgusting, literally, but that's the truth. They will make friends with people of other nations, immigrants such as them, but when they want to make friends with another person from their region, for example, they would like to find out if this person belongs to their own caste. Some are subtle, just like racism is subtle among people, and some are quite vocal about it. Same way, some people just ask for your last name. They can figure out your caste based on that. That's another, I think you need to get a degree to do that. I don't know where it is offered, but people can figure it out. Those that don't have that subtlety will openly ask you, oh, what is your caste? And if you're in that caste, you're automatically in the inner circle. A politician, I said that before. Another example I'll give you, a youth leader addressing thousands of people. These caste meetings are not like this. They have thousands of people attending them. This man stands on the stage, addresses thousands of these people, telling them that his doctor, when he went to donate his blood, his doctor discovered that he had special blood cells. His red blood cells were so disciplined that the doctor was amazed. And he tells his caste members who are attending that meeting, he tells them, your blood is special. You're blessed to be born in this caste. And he went on to say, do not donate your blood to people outside your caste. It will be diluted. He also claimed that God must be from his caste because he was born in that caste. He's not alone. This was something I was fortunate enough to watch a clipping of a few years ago, and I still can't forget it. Every leader of every caste community does the same thing. They perpetuate this caste feeling, and if they start with young people, these young people grow up and they pass it down to their children. So this has been going on for centuries and in the last 20 years it has gotten worse. Actually, it has reached a point where somebody has to pay attention. They also have separate summer picnics, caste-based summer picnics. The other issue that I wanted to mention was that's all happening in the forward caste. They're just fighting with one another. The other issue is the Dalits, the SC/ST, the scheduled tribes and scheduled castes. They're still being oppressed to this day. There are about 165 million people that are being oppressed. And not all organizations help them. They did a survey on atrocities against Dalits and Adivasis. Adivasis means tribal people, and found out how rampant it is in India. 64% faced discrimination or atrocity. Only 21% of them filed a report with the police. They're afraid. They're afraid that they will be beaten to death if it's found out that they've complained to the police. Out of those, 63% said that they did not get any help from the authorities. Most disturbing examples that I want to tell you, I think less than 2 weeks ago, there was a 35-year-old man passing on his bike, passing by a mango orchard. And he stopped and picked a few mangoes that were fallen on the ground. Immediately, he was caught by a couple of farmers that from the upper caste, and he was beaten to death. He was beaten so brutally, murdered, basically. If he was to be an upper caste man, he would have still been beaten, very likely, for theft or whatever. But he would have been let out with warning or, not to come back, don't do this again. But because he was a Dalit, he was made an example of for other Dalits, that don't you ever dare to touch the fruit of an upper caste man. He was a poor man. You would think that this happens only to poor people. It also happens in educational institutions. There are many PhD scholars that face harassment from their peers who harass them. About a week ago, an MD, a doctor, a female, who was training to be an OBGYN, committed suicide after a few years of harassment from her peers who were from upper caste. And her families and her complaints to the authorities of the educational authorities did nothing. They were not even noticed. After 3 years of suffering, who would have become a doctor and served her society, which is downtrodden, she killed herself. And there are lots of these. I just gave 2 examples because we don't have that much time. But if I start listing them, today may not be enough. With the extreme right-wing government that is in power now, has been in power since 2014, these lynchings, these murders have gotten worse. The percentage has gone up. The question was asked to these upper caste people. It was, will you let an SC or ST enter your kitchen and use your utensils? You can see that on the extreme left, you see the Brahmin. These are supposed to be the highest in the hierarchy. And there are forward castes which fall in between, and there are other backward castes. There's scheduled castes, scheduled tribes. You'll notice that even among scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, there are so many subcastes that even they do not, they're segregated from one another. So on average, 27% of them said, no, we will not let a Dalit in our kitchen. We will not let them use our pots and pans. If you look at the side of the religion, Hindus predominantly, but others are also part of it. This topic really I get worked up talking about it. It's something that I have held, I carry a lot of shame for having been born in that society. Let me deviate from this seriousness and talk a little bit about science. And this is where we'll connect the DNA and this caste system. Cells are the basic building blocks of all living things. The human body is composed of trillions of cells. They have many parts, each with a different function. This is just a simple drawing of a cell. DNA, that we popularly known as DNA, is a molecule that contains the instructions an organism needs to develop, live, and reproduce. These instructions are found inside every cell and are passed down from parents to their children. Nearly every cell in the human body has the same DNA. Most DNA is located in the nucleus of the cell, but a small amount is found in the mitochondria. Nuclear DNA is inherited from all ancestors, whereas mitochondrial DNA is inherited from a single lineage, that is maternal. Mitochondria are passed from mother to child only, whereas the genes in the nuclei of your cells come from both parents. I got my nuclear DNA from my father and my mother and some of our ancestors, but the mitochondrial DNA came from my mom. All the ladies in the room should feel special because theoretically you're carrying the genetic material of the woman that passed down her genes to, who lived 200,000 years ago. And she was termed mitochondrial Eve. In 1987, a worldwide survey of human mitochondrial DNA was published by Kahn, Stoneking, and Wilson in Nature magazine. Its main point was that all mitochondrial DNA stems from one woman and that she probably lived around 200,000 years ago in Africa. Mitochondrial DNA is only passed down the maternal line, as I said before, and it can be theoretically traced back to one woman. This is just a reconstructed picture. However, this does not mean that she was the first modern human or she was the only woman available. Only woman lived at that time. It rather indicates that only her descendants survived to the present day. You can see this from this chart. There have been many people who made babies, but this mitochondrial Eve had the genetic material which was strong enough to be passed down all the way to 21st century. Extraordinary, isn't it? People don't talk about mitochondrial DNA because majority of the DNA studies were done on nuclear DNA. So we don't hear much about this. So how is this caste system relevant to this? How is caste system relevant to people sitting in this hall, people sitting in America or Australia, wherever? Why am I talking about a problem that is in India with you here? As humanists, we believe in equal rights. So I'm guessing all of you would be interested in what's going on in any part of the world, not just your region. That's one reason why we should talk about it. And the other reason is it's not just in India, it is here. It is in all Western countries where Indians have migrated to. United States being the worst. But it's going to get worse and it's going to spread elsewhere too. We are living in the so-called Neolithic period, but our thinking puts Stone Age to shame. What do we want to do? What does South Asian Humanist Association wants to do? We want to find volunteers from each caste. Like I said, there are thousands of castes. We cannot possibly get a volunteer from each caste, but at least a small sample of 100. And we would like it to be from all people from all walks of life, rich, poor, educated, uneducated, higher caste, middle, somewhere in the middle, and the oppressed classes. And we would like to trace their maternal DNA, the mitochondrial DNA, as far back as possible. If we can get back as far back as a mitochondrial Eve, awesome. Even if we can trace the DNA back 10,000 years ago, it would still work because this system has been put in place only less than 5,000 years ago. We basically want to prove to people, we've taken the material from all of you, and this all belongs to the same woman. It all has derived from the same woman. We would like to take the help of the media, various media, and spread the word. We would like to enroll some celebrities who have popular voice, people who can, those who can reach common man. And am I running late? Yeah. We have time? We're out of time. Okay. So it would take a lot of money, and it would take the help of a few scientists. We already have 2 people on board. One of them is Dr. Kumar Sami Tangraj from Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology based in India. He has given a verbal agreement that he would go on help us with this project. We just have to secure funds. And I'm also talking to another lady here. I can't take her name yet, that is looking into it and wants to help us. As cliched as it sounds, we are the children of the same mother, and we should acknowledge it. This caste system can be applied to all races, so it is relevant in that sense as well. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Rachel. Have a good day.